Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boleyn Lounge. Welcome to our Tuesday Talkshow. Apologies for our late start. Thanks for hanging around. And I'm joined tonight by Budgie. Thanks for joining me, Budgie. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you, Jeff. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. And well, we're here to talk about the game at the weekend. And I suppose we should probably start with the lineup. And lots of people have been calling for a free at the back. And when you saw he was going to play that, what did you think of that yourself?
I thought it was quite cool. I was expecting bigger things. I've got to be honest. I was expecting a much better performance.
Yeah, you were pretty happy. Obviously, Emerson, Wan-Bissaka at wing backs, and he probably didn't have a lot of choice in the middle of the park did he? When it came to his midfield selection of Rodriguez and Alvarez with Souček unavailable. Areola obviously didn't make the bench, both with a virus, I believe.
Yeah.
Bit surprising Antonio didn't start for me, but he played Somerville, Bowen and Paquetá across the front, or at least we thought. Mick and I, when I saw the lineup, we exchanged some messages and wasn't quite sure if he was going to line up as a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. And I don't think it turned out to be either in the end. It was a bit strange, wasn't it? What did you think of it?
It was I thought it. As you said, a 3-5-2. That's what I was looking at, or a 3-5-1-1 if you prefer. But it turned out to be a mismatch of everything. Yeah, I don't think. I think the only player really held his own at all in that game was Wan-Bissaka, for my money.
And Somerville, it was odd, wasn't it? I mean, he played so well before, and then he kind of tucked him inside. Just made no sense at all. He swapped the. I mean, the red card didn't help, and obviously second half was what it was, partly because of that. But I mean, he really needs to sort this out, doesn't he? He's switching the formation. He's switching the team. He's asking players to play in 2 and 3 positions all over. He can't get them performing in one position at the moment. I think he really needs to go back to basics, start building from the back, stop all this fullbacks not defending.
Yeah.
Make us solid at the back. We're leaking goals for fun. And go from there. We have got the forward players. If we work it through to them, we've got the forward players to do the damage. But we're just so disjointed. There's no connection between any part of the pitch, is there? The only connection is the long ball up to the front players, which is why I can't believe you didn't play Antonio against those 2 centre halves at Forest.
Yeah. Hey, it baffles me, I mean, we were all waiting for Somerville to get a start, and rightfully so, and he did, but some of the other selections, the tactical selections, let's call them that, were baffling. I mean, I had no idea what the tactical setup was, if I'm honest with you.
No, I think everyone's struggling with it, to be honest with you, and it's no wonder the players are struggling with it. I mean, they're all over the place, aren't they? And then they're asked to play all over the place. There's no continuity there at all. I will come to your comments in the chat, by the way.
There's no clear definition of what each player has to do either.
No, and here's the thing. We were not happy with Moyes. We were not happy with the way the team set up. We were not happy the fact that he only used just the core of players, didn't utilise the squad as well as he could have. But you kind of knew what you were getting. I don't think anyone has any idea what's going on with this guy.
Least of all Lopetegui.
Yeah, well, and I mean, we've tried to be a bit more pragmatic on this channel. I know there's been people calling for Lopetegui's head for weeks. There's been people in the chat who have been saying for weeks, and there's those that have never been happy with him in the first place.
Yeah.
And we, as a fan base, it's a big rebuild. It's a big job. Influx of players, change of playing style. He's going to need time, and we all said we will give him time.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had that long in terms of 10, 12 games if you count the cup games. But in that 10 games, apart from 45 minutes here, which we could deem as a decent performance, and 5 or 10 minutes of football that breaks out here or there now and again, apart from the play it along the back to the goalkeeper, kick it up the field, I don't really see any patterns of play. I don't really see any progress.
No.
And it's hard to see when it's coming.
Yeah, agreed. And, I mean, we've got players that are creative players, I should say. The likes of Paquetá and the likes of Kudus and, Somerville and many others. Even Carlos Soler is a creative player when he's comfortable in the team. But we've not seen any creative players come into the fore. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as I said, is the one player that I'm actually not disappointed with at the moment. Yeah, of course, there's been one or two mistakes by him, but every player makes them. But I think in general, Wan-Bissaka has been the most reliable player on the pitch.
I think Wan-Bissaka's failings are his failings, aren't they? So when he gets up to the
everything
final
else about
third,
him, it seems to be positive, and strong.
Yeah. And where he falls short is just where his game is weaker.
Yeah.
So we're asking him to be better at things he's not very good at, basically.
And he's trying his bloody hardest to get there, Jeff,
He is, and I think I really do think he is trying his hardest in the role that he's being asked to play. I just think it's all wrong with leaving ourselves exposed. He's not a great component at what we're asking him to do.
Yeah.
And then what he's good at, he's basically missing for some of the time.
Yeah. I
mean, we
think
got warnings early in the game, didn't we, at Forest? First couple of minutes, they probably could have taken the lead. Within the first few minutes, they'd created 2 good chances, should have probably scored one of them. But thereafter, the half was, pretty even. Both teams sort of cancelled themselves out. We didn't really create and threaten them very much at all. But we sort of kept them at bay in the main part until the goal. And then, we let Moreno no one tracked the run of Moreno. He just ran to the byline. Mavropanos, for me, he does it all the time. He drives me crazy with it. He puts his hands behind his back. It's the first thing he wants to do. He's put his arms behind the back, gets him square on. It allows Moreno to buy himself half a yard of space, whip the ball in, and how the hell Chris Woods is standing 6 yards out with a free header there? I mean,
because we didn't heed the warning from him on every other occasion we've played him. Him. He's got a bloody bad habit of scoring against us. And we should have been a lot tighter on him. We should have had at least, I think Todibo should have been marking him, if I'm honest. I think Todibo or Kilman would have marked him out of the game.
It's criminal that one of them did not pick him up and he was allowed a free header there.
Yeah.
And then we got the Alvarez red card. Obviously, I'm sure we'll probably go on to talk about that at some point later on, so I don't want to dwell on that too much. Second goal, Fabianski looks quite poor, doesn't he? With the ball whipped in from Hudson-Odoi, takes a nick off of Mavropanos, and yeah, I think it looks bad on Fabianski, but I'm not sure it's quite as bad as it looks on him. I'm not sure if he saves that the result isn't the same, and he makes a couple of fantastic saves later on to keep them out. So maybe he could have done better with that, but I wouldn't crucify him for it, and I don't think it changes the result.
No, I
And
don't think so.
then the third goal was just crazy stuff from Todibo, isn't it? And tries some silly little chip, knocks it into Aina's chest, and he just absolutely hits a pile driver into the top corner, doesn't he? And game's over, and they could have, to be fair, won it more comfortably than that, possibly with a couple of other chances that they created.
I think we got away, from a real bad whipping from them, because they were just ready for anything and everything that we put out there, which wasn't much. We didn't put on much of a challenge at all, really, to be fair. And we were
they were just
wasteful
good,
with
weren't
them.
they?
Yeah.
They weren't
And
sparkling,
we
but they
were
were just good.
wasteful with the ball as well, So, Forest were on their game. We weren't. And they were deserved winners, in my opinion.
So say good evening to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us, and I'll work through your comments now while Budgie's going on about the game.
Well, I've got to be honest. I only really saw the highlights, so I didn't watch the entire game. I can't stand watching it on my phone, and where I was nowhere near a TV. So, and to be honest, I didn't really see the whole game, but from the highlights that I've seen, etc., I just don't think that we were at the races at all, and not at all, not from minute one. And like you said, there were small pockets of play. I think in the second half, but probably 20, 25 minutes, we held our own, but that was it. Other than that, I saw nothing that impressed me. I saw,
I think it was up there with the Chelsea performance. It was awful, I thought.
Was it? Like I said, I didn't see the whole thing, but I know that the Chelsea performance.
If you take it from last week, I know we got the 3 points against Man United. We were hugely helped by a crazy decision and absolutely dreadful finishing from Man United. They should have been out of sight at half time. We should have been on the back of a hiding last week. We've got a lucky 3 points, and we were basically on the back of a hiding this week. We were nowhere near them. They were far better than us. We were rubbish, but that doesn't take away from them. They were decent, and they put us to the sword, and they absolutely deserved their victory. No question.
Yes, they did. And I said to someone the other night, when you consider Nottingham Forest's history, they've got history of coming into the league, spending a year or so bedding into the league, and then before you know it, they're going to be challenging for European slots. I said this the other night, and they're already in third spot at the moment. Okay, we're only a quarter of the way into the season, but
they haven't really played anyone either, Budgie, I would say, about Forest.
They've got a history of doing this, Nottingham Forest. They know what it takes to succeed, and they're willing to do it, and they're willing to sacrifice, if they have to, good players to get better players, which is something that, I admire in them. Like when they signed like Jesse Lingard, for example, because of the season, half a season he'd had with us, we were all expecting to see this dynamic, 20-goal season out of him. He got 20 minutes of play. Well, he didn't even play much of the games, because obviously somebody else in that position was doing a better job for them in training and whatnot. and that's what I'm saying about Nottingham Forest. You know that they've got good players, but they've always got a better one tucked away somewhere. They tend to do it a lot, a bit like Brighton in that respect.
Yeah.
They've got a good
So
recruitment policy.
Happy says she's over the result now. She decided she's not going to get her hopes up anymore. And whatever will be, will be. Well, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So I don't think that'll
I'm
last.
glad she added that bit on at the end, because we
Yeah,
all know
that
that's
won't
not going to be
last.
the case. Good
Colin says,
evening,
good
Colin.
evening. Evening, Colin. Taro says, that's the spirit, HH. Unlike our coach, good to see that she has a plan. And yeah, coming on to Lopetegui, and I'm sure people in the chat will be keen to talk about him, because the pressure is growing and speculation on who may succeed him also growing.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Budgie? Do you think he's really under threat? Do you think if we were to lose to Everton, or lose badly to Everton, that he may go?
I got a feeling that he's with us until Christmas minimum, but I got a funny feeling he's here for the season. I don't think David Sullivan is not trigger happy, so I don't think that David Sullivan's going to literally pull the floor out from underneath him. I think he's going to allow him to have the season. That way, it doesn't cost him a lot of money. There must be a clause in his contract that if he finishes below a certain place in the league, that he can be released or something like that. Because we know what Sullivan's like. He's a very, very pretty snake with a venomous bite.
Mm.
And that's the fact. So I don't see him being under a lot of. He's under a lot of pressure from the likes of the fan base and perhaps some of the players, etc., etc. But I don't see Sullivan pulling the rug out from under him.
I tend to agree. I think Sullivan is likely to be patient. But if we lost, say, 3-0 to Everton and 4-1 at Newcastle and 4-0 against Arsenal,
Very likely results.
and I've picked those out, but if you look at the way we're playing at the moment, if you look at how exposed we are, if you look at how many goals we're leaking, it's not unrealistic that,
No, of course.
as bad a scenario as that is, it could happen, right?
Yeah.
Does he survive then?
I don't know, mate. I mean, it does take us a lot closer to Christmas.
It does, yeah. And the league, I'm sure, will be really squeezing up there. I mean, we might not be in the
Look, put it this
relegation
way:
place, but we'll be hovering.
if we're bottom of the league at Christmas, you can guarantee he's gone.
Don't think we'll be bottom of the league at Christmas, but we could be,
Yeah, but it's
right in
not
amongst the battle.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility, though, Jeff.
No, I
we
don't
could
think we'll be
be
bottom at
in a
Christmas.
relegate or bottom three. I can see us being there, but if we keep doing what we're doing now,
Saturday's massive now, isn't it?
Huge.
For lots
Absolutely.
of reasons. It's big for Everton. It'd be a big 3 points for them if they can get it. It's huge for us. Reports on social media about it being a must-win game, and one thing another coming out from, and those kind of whispers being said. I don't know if it's as critical as that, but huge 3 points. And if we don't get 3 points there, international break, we know the fixtures coming up immediately after the international break. Tough.
Yeah, of course. And we're notorious for being absolute dog's mess after international breaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we we've shown it recently. That's why we're talking the way we are now. Because we've had 2 international breaks this season already, and they both no, we've had one already. Sorry, and oh, it is 2. Yeah, it is 2, and we've been absolutely dog shite after both of them. We haven't even managed to draw after either of them. Lost both games, the first games after. So, I can't see us getting anything at Newcastle. Can't see us getting anything from Arsenal. I'm struggling to see any teams that we are going to actually get results from.
It's worrying. Let's try and catch up with the chat, Budgie. Flawless is
Okay,
saying,
yes,
and good evening, Flawless. Doesn't matter what the formation is. The shape and tactics are all wrong and players are not being played to their strengths. Well, it's just kind of like what we were alluding to as we were giving our summary on the game. It's sort of exactly what we're saying, and it's pretty obvious that that's what's happening. And yeah, baffling. Azim says, good evening, mate. Thanks for coming in. Evening, HH. Toya says it's hard to believe that the team is being coached in the weeks for the tactics employed on game day. They look like rabbits startled in the headlights, and that's exactly right. I mean, I think we said that they're struggling to get one system down pat.
Yep.
And then he's trying to get him to play another way, and in different positions. It's great having versatile players that can do that, but I really think we need to nail down a way of playing and an effective way of playing, and just start trying to master that.
Yeah. I mean, look, as fans, we think we can see what the issues are and how to fix them. And I'm sure that 99% of us believe believe in what we see and think. And I struggle to believe that a manager who's on, what is it? I don't know, 4 million or 6 million a year or whatever it is. I struggle to believe that he can't see what a majority of us fans are seeing. I mean, we might not all agree on everything that needs to be addressed, but we all agree on a lot of it. And he doesn't seem to. He just seems to be piling out the same not sob story, but bullshit tactics that, we're all saying is completely wrong. The players aren't happy with it, and yet he's still trying to do it. That's almost like what's his face was at hang on,
Burnley. Company.
Yeah, Company at Burnley. It's almost that kind of attitude. It's my way or no way kind of thing.
That's what we criticised Moyes for, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least he gave players like Pablo Fornals, Lucas Paqueta, Jared Bowen, he gave them a chance to flourish when they had the ball. He gave them freedom of choice of how to best get themselves up the pitch. It doesn't seem to be like that under the current regime. It seems to be, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want you to do this. It's not natural for Lucas Paqueta not to pick out that pass. It's not natural for Bowen to not run down that right wing and then cut in on his left foot and swing one for the top corner. We're not seeing any of that. Why aren't we seeing it? It's, like that is probably the strongest string in Jared Bowen's, bow, is that cutting in onto his left and hooking it round top left-hand corner.
But we're not getting it into those positions, are we? Because he's got to either deal with the ball coming out of the sky, and competing for it, or he's got Wan-Bissaka popping up in the position that we want Jared Bowen in.
Yeah.
And this season, when Jared Bowen has got into the positions that we want to see Jared Bowen in and cutting that ball, not so much cutting in on the left and scoring goals, but if he's got to the byline a few times and cut balls across, he's
Yeah.
created goals, right? And
Yeah.
this is not what Wan-Bissaka is going to give you.
No. No. But on the other hand, it is what Vladimir Sufal would give you.
Sure, but he's not as good a defender as Wan-Bissaka.
Exactly. And that's the dilemma that we have.
So
Do you stop
Wan-Bissaka is an absolute upgrade on Vladimir Sufal, right? I still think Vladimir
defensively?
Sufal can do a job at the club, and if there's
Defensively, yeah.
games we could use him in, I don't really have a problem with that. But I absolutely think Wan-Bissaka is an upgrade on him. But I
Yeah.
do think he's being misused.
Agreed.
It's
Agreed.
another thing that we criticised Moyes for.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. Like, Pablo Fornals or Paqueta out on the left wing.
Oh,
Why?
is Paqueta out on the left wing being so misused? His best performances in a claret and blue shirt have come out there mostly.
I suppose.
Whole
I
point of
don't
playing
agree
free
with
at the back.
Flawless on that last point, though.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Whole point of playing free at the back is to make sure you're solid at the back. Whole point of playing wing backs is so they provide an outlet for the attackers. And AWB and Emerson can't cross a ball. What do you disagree with there,
I think
buddy?
Emerson's got a decent cross on him. It's not
Um,
always evident, but he has got a decent cross on him.
he's got a decent cross in him, but it's about
1 in 10.
one in 60. How many balls that he puts in does he put in? Like the ball he did against Ipswich for Antonio for that header, because it's a rarity. And
Yeah.
the thing is, if he did that more often, oh my God, that's exactly what we need. But
Yeah.
he doesn't
And
really do that a lot.
the thing is with him, because he breaks up that left side so far, he's now not doing those kinds of crosses. He's now trying to swing it in from the byline or from far out on the left, or if he gets cut, he cuts into the middle. He then has to lay it off with his left foot because he's no good on his right.
Yeah, he should be crossing.
Yeah. But I actually think that Emerson's got a better cross on him than we give him credit
Stephen,
for.
I'm not saying he hasn't got a good cross in him. I'm just saying he doesn't produce it very often.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Not often
I'll
enough.
give you that. I'll give you that.
Good evening, Colin. Colin says, the trouble is with Loppy, he's a babbling, confusing coach. I was never happy with him. No progress. We have good, but we haven't got the coach to get the best out of our good players. Big fuck up. Sorry about the language. No problem, Colin. He does seem to be quite babbling, and he does seem to be quite confusing. And by his own admission, there seems to be some communication problems, which is not good, is it?
No. I mean, every time you see him in a post-match or a pre-match, pre or post-match interview, he always he looks at the person asking the question really weird, and he goes, "Sorry,"
Yeah.
and then he turns to his man, and his man will go, blah, 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 and he goes, "Oh, yeah, no, I don't do that," or whatever the case may be. He's actually quite frustrating to watch him.
Yeah, it's not very inspiring, is he?
No.
Flawless says, we all knew Forest's threat would come down the wings with Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, and that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, the delivery into Chris Wood. And he's just so naive, it seems, all of the time. Happy's asking, what's Harry's injury? Does anyone know? As far as I know, he was a victim of the virus that kept Souček out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toa says our midfield is so poor that Phillips would fit in perfectly. Jesus Christ. It is poor, though. It is poor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we've got Alvarez. We know the quality of him, but we also know his downfall, which is yellow cards, too many of them, too often. You know,
Yeah, discipline seems to be a real problem. I've been saying that
yeah,
on the show for a couple of weeks about the discipline, and it's actually getting worse. Flawless says, "So what do you think about this comment? I'd be interested because I've seen a little bit of this on different channels and within comments." And he says he hopes Everton beat us if that means Floppy gets sacked. Like I say, it seems to be another one of those popular. If he loses and he gets sacked, I'd take that. Well, we discussed earlier, I don't think he does get sacked if we lose, but let's just say he does. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I don't know if you saw it in the group earlier. I put a screenshot of a story I read, and it said that Romaro has said that West Ham are keeping tabs on Terzic,
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
and I wouldn't be unhappy with that if he was to
Yeah,
come in. He seems
I
to be a
think
very
Flawless is a
popular
fan of
choice.
his. Yeah, I'm reserved about it. Here's the thing with me, right? Broadly speaking, whoever becomes West Ham manager, I'll be supportive of because I want West Ham to win and I want West Ham to be successful. And so whoever's at the helm needs to be successful to that for that to happen. So ultimately, I would like Lopetegui to be successful because it means West Ham are successful.
Yeah, of course.
But truth be known, it doesn't look very likely at the moment that
No,
he's going to be successful at West Ham. And
yeah.
we're not really seeing much signs of any improvement. Seems
No,
to
we're not.
be as disjointed, if not more disjointed, than when he first walked in the door. And that's concerning.
Yeah.
But this is where the be careful what you wish for cycle comes into play for me. Because Sullivan and the board had like 6 months to replace Moyes, and then they knew they were going to replace Moyes. And they started their search and they did their recruitment, and this is the guy they came up with, right?
Cheap
Now,
option.
if we get rid of him, he loses on Saturday, we get rid of him on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Who do they appoint? Because it took them 6 months to identify this guy. So now
Well,
they've been sniffing around managers for a couple of weeks, right?
it took them 6 months to announce who they'd chosen. We don't know how long they were flirting with him or scouting him or whatever. I mean, he said that he'd been watching since January or something. He'd been watching the team since January.
So do you trust their
So,
recruitment process? That's my
no,
question.
no, I don't.
So if they sack Loppy on Monday, who are they recruiting? Who's our next manager?
I think they've got to hand the reins of that to Tim and say to him, right, who should we get? You
Do
know?
you?
Yeah.
So if we take
I've still
Tim's
got a lot of
record,
faith in Tim.
you do, yeah. I want him to be successful. There was a big buzz came around the club when in his arrival, and this
Yeah.
is what he's done and achieved before. I could never find out much about how he had or hadn't achieved anything. But maybe because there wasn't much in like the British press about it. I'm sure if people were better researchers than me, might be able to find out more. But I can't find out much of a record for what he has or hasn't done.
Yeah.
He's come in, apparently now, as things are unraveling, if you believe everything you hear, he's been responsible for the recruitment of Guilherme, Todibo, and Fulkrug. He's been here a year. He spent 3 weeks in Brazil and came back with his third choice for 20 odd million.
Yeah.
A 35 million £100 centre-back, who looks like he's going to be good, by the way.
Yeah.
But hardly like a pearl diver uncovering like a gem. It's not like 15 million quid. Look at this bargain we've got, is it? It's like proper money, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of
And
course.
Fulcrook, who's 30 plus years old. Okay, injuries happen, but it was a risk. If you look at his injury record, it was a risk. They've signed him for 25 plus million pounds. So hardly played any minutes for us. This is his recruitment record.
Yeah, there are other
And
players.
if you believe what was announced when they all stood shoulder to shoulder at the start of the season, this was his manager. He recruited this manager. When they all stood shoulder to shoulder, yeah, this is my man.
That
I
was
picked him.
club politics, mate.
3 weeks ago, he was on TV saying this was my man and I'm very happy with him. So,
okay. Maybe,
right?
maybe then, you know, maybe he isn't the man to move us on. But
So,
you know,
I don't know. But for me, there's question marks and they're growing.
wasn't he
Now,
also
if he's
responsible for bringing in Alvarez and Kudos? Though
he was responsible for going and signing them, apparently, but it was all in the pipeline and all going to be done by the club. And if other reports, if you remember at the time, Noble identified Alvarez, if you're prepared to believe that.
Okay.
So, and here's the other thing, right? So, if he's prepared to stand there, say all these things, yeah, we're shoulder to shoulder. This is our man. Yeah, no, we're all in agreement. And then pre-season, when they were asked about signings, and Loppy pointed to Tim and went, "Oh, don't ask me. That's his department. He does that." And he was all smiley about it. And then it's not his man. He warned Sullivan against him, but he was happy to pretend he was his man. He hasn't recruited the people he has. So, right, okay, so where's his morality then? What is his position then?
Sullivan's whipping boy.
And is he happy to do that then?
Clearly.
So, is he going to be the positive influence ultimately on our club that we wish him to be? And I don't know. Is it because he's not able to deliver and he's hamstrung by the board? Or is it that he's instead of Moyes being the yes man, he's now the yes man?
Could possibly be, mate. Could possibly be.
I don't know anything. I'm just sort of throwing it out there, the thoughts.
It'd be interesting to get the point of view of somebody like Mark Noble on it, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, let's try and catch up with the chat. He would be on the bench though if he wasn't injured and just dropped through a disciplinary though, Togs. I must have missed that comment.
Okay.
I might have to skip by a few, try and catch up. We have not won convincingly aside from Ipswich. The points we've taken have been potluck. I would say we had a decent second half performance against Crystal Palace. But it's another game that we were fortunate to perhaps not be 2 or 3 goals down in the first half. So we can't keep doing that. Ipswich was a good performance. Ipswich were poor, I think, on the day, but I think we were actually good on that day as well.
Yeah.
And second half against Man United, we saw bits that we should be pleased about.
Yeah, but not enough of it.
But it's very few and far between. And this is part of the reason that it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, like if, as you said, if we were to lose embarrassingly on on the weekend. Is it Saturday, the game? Yeah.
Yeah.
If we were to lose embarrassingly against Everton, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him during the international break from, from the likes of ourselves and other channels and stuff, as well as like fans in the main, as it were. There's going to be a lot of turgid, response to it, and I think it's some of it's deserved. A lot of it is deserved, but also on the same token, although yes, maybe Lopetegui's tactics and approach to the games and that isn't what we were looking for, but the players have got minds of their own. Surely they've got to bear some of the responsibility, because it seems that other than Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Max Kilman, the only player that really takes the ball by the horns and says, like, I'm going to make something bloody well happen, is Mohamed Kudus. He's the only player that we've got that does that, and we used to have so many more, and they're still with us as well,
I think Tadebo's done well since he's come into the side.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been great. Defensively, he's been incredible, in my opinion. I think, he's slotted right in really well, really quickly, and he's shown what he's about, and he's a man that I think we should, be very grateful that we've got, because I think he's going to be huge for us.
Yeah, he looks a real good player.
I think Soler, once he's settled in a little bit better, we'll see a much better player than we have.
Yeah, a bit unconvincing so far, but let's give him a chance.
I've got a little bit more confidence in Soler than you have, maybe, Jeff. But
I just don't know much about him, and he hasn't shown me much to make me.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's his name, Guido Rodriguez. I think he's shown clips of what he's capable of, but he's also shown clips of what we don't want him to be doing. Like giving the ball away, etc. I think in the main, though, I think I'm most happy with, of all the newer signings, it's got to be Wan-Bissaka, and he is showing me that he's prepared to give everything and do whatever it takes for the cause, and that's rare. That's rare in players these days, Thomas Socek's another one, but he's not getting enough time.
Yeah, he does give everything. Colin says he's even heard things from players who have played for him, been saying he is boring and played boring football under him, never done anything for them. I can actually see why. Well, I mean, I don't have access to any of that information, so I have to take your word for it, Colin. But I mean, he did alienate the likes of Ait-Nouri at Wolves, didn't he? They had a falling out, and he got frozen out. And he's blossomed into a wonderful player. I mean, I think I'd take him at West Ham, actually.
Yeah, but not with Lopetegui as the manager, though, because he'd just do the same thing again.
It's not going to work, is it? If they've not got a good relationship. But what I'm saying, as a player, I actually think he's quite good.
The thing is, I think we got the best out of Max Kilman so far because of having Lopetegui there, because he's already worked with him. They really got on, really like each other. So therefore, Kilman's felt kind of at home. I'll settle in, do my job, bang. He's done it. I don't know that a player that has had any issues with Lopetegui in the past would settle in so quickly. Do you know what I mean? Or so comfortably.
Happy Amaret says the under 21's 2-1 up, so that's good news.
Yeah. Excellent.
Sacked. Happy Amaret says sacked after an Everton loss, then I'd take that. We have an international break after giving someone else a couple of weeks at least. We do not expect anything out of us or Magpies, so good time, in her opinion. And I kind of get that, but like I say, I worry about the recruitment process, and I worry who comes in next.
Yeah.
And do we end up then with a manager a Sean Dyche type character? Yeah, that then ends up with a 3-year contract, and we end up going in the cycle again. Yeah. Or do we spiral from one manager to the next manager?
Or does David Moyes come back?
Well, I mean, don't say it too loud to the mirror 3 times, or he might appear. But I mean, I imagine on Sullivan's shortlist of 5 managers that Moyes is on it.
Yeah, I'll guaranteed.
I think we said that last week when we spoke about it.
I think David Moyes though has publicly said, his business with West Ham is done.
And this is sort of Toho just sort of saying what we were saying there. She says, I don't want West Ham to turn into a Chelsea, Watford type club that changes managers as often as someone changes underwear, even if I am not impressed by the current situation. And that is a risk that goes with it.
Yeah, of course.
You get the next manager 10 games later, or, you're changing him, get a manager in for the next season. Oh, that's not working out. And that would just rip the club apart, I think. We need stability. And Flawless says he doesn't agree, and he'll be gone if we lose, and he hopes we do. So, and if that's how people feel, and they feel strongly enough to say, I hope West Ham lose at the weekend in order for the manager to be sacked to implement the change that they think is required, and that's how it works out, and he does get sacked, let's see what happens. But if he doesn't get sacked, you've just hoped West Ham lose. So, there's no payoff to it. Yeah. Happy Hamlet saying, Tos, given we have seen no improvement yet, in fact, we look worse than we did at the start of the season, how long would you give him? And that is a worry, and I think we said that earlier in the show. If anything, we look worse. We look less organised against Forest than we did against Villa.
Yeah. At the moment, we're looking like a lower Championship team up against Premier League teams. That's what we're looking like.
Yeah,
unprepared. Unprepared. No plan of action. It's looking very, very tiresome at the moment. I think that's the word for it.
It is.
It's tiresome because we know we're capable of so much more.
Uninspiring appointment, and he's producing very uninspiring performances at the moment, isn't he? Simple as that. There's
and his words aren't very inspiring to us either.
No.
He has never come out and said, look, don't worry, I'm getting a grip on it. I will get this under control. He's done none of that.
No, and I'm sort of with Toho on his position. I get it. I feel like that, and I fear the chopping and changing of managers. But that's not through any great faith in the current coach, because I think, he's going to turn it around. He's wonderful. I just think if they're going to get rid of him, if they've made their mind up, I think they should take their time to make sure they get the right appointment, because I don't think we're going to get relegated. No. If they identify that guy and they can bring him in at Christmas, then fine, give it till Christmas and get that guy in. If they have to wait till the start of next year, give him the season. It could be worse.
Yeah. Here's what I think may happen. Here's a little scenario. So we lose at Everton 4-0, let's say. Right? And we go into the international.
I don't think we will lose 4-0 to Everton, but
this is like worst case scenario. We lose 4-0 against Everton. We go into an international break. During that international break, we hear that Lopetegui has been sacked and all his staff are gone. And then we hear that the club have appointed an interim manager Kevin Nolan with Mark Noble as his assistant.
Right.
That's what I think might happen if he goes anytime between now and the end of the season. That's what I think would happen. Maybe not Kevin Nolan, but something of that nature. Somebody that knows the club a little bit or very well. Do you know what I mean? It could quite easily be Kevin Keane or someone like that as the interim manager.
I think Mark Noble will be very well respected. Recently retired. He's a
Well
club
received.
legend. He'd be well thought of by the players. I'm sure they absolutely respect him.
Exactly.
I don't know what his coaching abilities are.
It's not even about his coaching ability. We know that Kevin Nolan, for example, is a great coach, right?
Okay,
We also
so
know
what
that
I'm
Kevin
about to
Keane
say,
is a great coach. But as an assistant, now, Mark Noble's role in all of that would not necessarily be on the coaching side, I don't believe. That would be more on the morale side, the publicity side of it, and to be fair, I think between Mark Noble and Nolan or Kevin Keane or even Andy Irvine come back, someone like that, I think that he would be a good assistant and he would learn his trade that way. I don't think he would come in as a head coach or anything like that. You know what I mean?
I agree. Noble on a morale perspective in the dressing room. He knows how to motivate the players. All of that. Yep. No argument from me from that whatsoever. Totally agree. Kevin Nolan was part of the team that was responsible for conceding a record amount of goals last year.
Mm-hmm.
Who's managed, I think, Notts County, and that's it. Is his managerial experience, and we've already got a experienced coach, if you like, heading towards that. So I don't see how that is like necessarily a magic solution to bring the guy who was part of the team that conceded the most goals we've ever conceded. Let's put him in charge.
I'm saying I can see Sullivan doing something like that.
Kevin Keane's had 2 goes at it before and wasn't really very successful at it, which is why I think he's not gone on to manage anyone anywhere, because I'm not sure he has the desire to be a first team head coach.
Yeah.
So I think people mentioned these kind of things, and what I think is it's the romantic claret and blue spectacles solution, right?
Agreed. But it's
I don't know if it's the actual answer,
Sullivan.
right?
Yeah, but it's also very typical of Sullivan. From what we know of him.
Colin says, gentlemen, people I know within the club have been telling me Stuyton and Loppy have not been getting on, and also been problems going on in the boardroom. And yeah, I mean, there's been whispers of that across social media. What is the problem between Stuyton and Loppy? Now, if Stuyton's got his dummy, his nose put out of joint because Loppy's looking at him going, what the fuck's this shit you've served up for me? This ain't what I asked for.
Yeah.
In some respects, he might have a point, might he?
Yeah.
Especially if he feels like these people are going around feeding social media and like briefing against him. Which, if you remember, is a few weeks ago, he did the same thing himself, and they're all at it. I don't advocate any of them for it, but he got his mouthpiece to put out the look beyond the bench and all of that statement, didn't he? So there's obviously been a little bit something going on for a little while, but what's the root cause of it? And we're all pissed off because of what we see on the pitch. So it's easy to. Have I just turned you round, Budgie?
Oh no, that was me. Sorry.
Thank God for that.
Sorry. I just tried to swipe something off my screen and it opened it up instead.
That's good, because I thought, I don't know how I did that, and I don't know how to get you back.
What, was I like that? Or like that?
Evening, usual.
Evening, you, Joel.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
Is that 2-1? Was that the final result? Do we know?
No, give us an
It might
update
be. Yeah,
in
it's
the chat.
9:00 now, isn't it?
Happy says Moyes was stubborn, never used the bench, drained the players. Loppy uses his bench, but he's clueless. How to get our players and at their best. Let's not forget the bloke watched us for 6 months prior. All of those points are pretty good, aren't they? Moyes was stubborn, never used the bench, or certainly not effectively, I don't think. Did alienate players, and then other players just had to play all of the time. And Loppy does use his bench and is keen to, and he's shown that not only with us, but his time at Wolves. He made lots of early subs, his tenure there as well. So he definitely likes to use his substitutes, but he is bloody clueless. He's looking increasingly clueless every game.
Agreed.
What did you make? We didn't really speak about it. What did you make of the Alvarez sending off? What's your opinion on that, Budgie?
Like I said, I've only seen highlights, so I'm very disappointed, of course, but not surprised, unfortunately. No, I didn't see Emerson against Forest. Not really. No, didn't. I only saw the highlights. So I got what they chose for me to see. But yeah, I'm not entirely surprised. Kind of endears him to me, even though, you know, it probably did cost us momentum in the game if we had any. But I can't say I'm too disappointed because
Sporting a 2-1 up against Man City. Sorry to cut you off in your flow. Sporting a 2-1 up against Man City.
Excellent.
Just looked up. Good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off in your flow there, Budge. Carry on, mate.
No, that's right. But yeah, no, I just think that Alvarez is the kind of player that I really enjoy watching. I like the fact that he is a bit feisty, and that if he does lose out in a challenge, he will try again and again, and sometimes to the detriment of a card, you know. But I just can't fault him. I like him so much, Jeff, that, you know, he's one of my favourite players in the squad because I like the way that it's all or nothing for him. The game means everything to him.
Bit foolish getting sent off there, though. Unnecessary. Didn't need to do
very
that.
Foolish. But then, you know, that's no different to anything that I would have done when I was playing.
And, you know, possibly going to get more games. Now Alvarez is going to miss a game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what can I say? You know,
saying,
I'm disappointed, but not disappointed, if you like. Not disappointed in him, disappointed that we're going to lose him for a certain time.
Flawless is saying, look at Spurs' fullbacks. He's saying, it goes on to say, Udogie and Porro. What I would say is, look at Forest's fullbacks. Look how influential they were in the game on Saturday. This is what we want. If you're going to play like wing backs, you want that to come out of your wing backs. They were very influential in the game, gave us problems, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been quite impressed with Forest this season, you know, from what I've seen of them. I've been quite impressed with them. And, you know, how the hell they got Callum Hudson-Odoi and we didn't go in for him is absolutely beyond my realms of understanding. You know, he was the perfect player for West Ham. Absolutely nailed on, would have been, you know, a first team starter every week. We didn't even look at him, you know. We didn't
William
try
says, good evening, William, and he says, you can only keep one, J-Lo or Sullivan. That's a tough choice, isn't it?
I'd get rid of Sullivan.
I think I would too.
Because then you would get a new owner coming in and he wouldn't like what J-Lo's doing, so J-Lo would go as well.
Yeah, he'd get
So
rid of J-Lo.
it would be a snowball effect. So, yeah, you got to go with Sullivan on that one. William?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Get rid of Sullivan and let the new owner get rid of Loppy.
Yeah.
Usual saying, this must be the latest betting odds.
Yeah, of course it is.
Potter 6-4, Terzic 7-4, Southgate 2-1, Eric Ten Hag 9-4.
The fact that Eric Ten Hag's even considered, that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Potter, no, please, no. No. Terzic, I can understand. And Mousegate,
you kind of lean towards him, don't you? Terzic.
Yeah, of course. Out of those four, yeah. I mean, Mousegate, I wouldn't want him anywhere near us at all.
I wonder what price Rafa is, because I wouldn't be surprised if
Mate,
Sally's an admirer of his.
I wouldn't mind having Rafa. He's a winner. He's a winner.
For all it says, apparently Loppy was in a padded cell for the last 15 months before Sully and Tim saved it.
Nothing like that would surprise me. Bear in mind. James, good evening.
James, good evening, James. He says, most of us were very happy with 8 new signings, yet that's so disrupting, not just for the new 8, but the rest too. And they all have to get used to a new manager, which we wanted to. Patience United. And yeah, we've said this previously in weeks gone by. You know, there's a big influx of players. We're trying to get a different playing style, change the manager. There's an ingrained mentality within some of the existing players that has to be changed.
Yeah.
So broadly, I agree with all of that.
I do too. And I wouldn't be at all surprised, Jeff, if his next comment is Moyes in or Moyes out. One of them two, just to wind us up.
But what I say broadly, I agree.
Yeah, I do. I do agree.
What I would say is concerning is the lack of improvement. As Happy said earlier, we said it as well. We actually look worse against Forest than I think we did on opening day.
Yeah.
I didn't think either team were particularly great on opening day, but we weren't as bad as we were against Forest.
No, gosh, no. I know what you're saying, mate.
Yeah, you could read that out, but
yeah, all right. It says, I know what you're saying, mate. Colin says, I know what you're saying, mate. You think he will be here long term? I believe he will be gone before Newcastle and Arsenal games coming up. I know they are actually looking for new coaches. Well, that's fair enough, Colin. I mean, you've explained to us before that you do have certain sources close to the club, and we appreciate your input. We really do. The only thing that I'm going on personally myself, I can't speak to Jeff or anyone else, but I'm going on how I see the situation in the club long term over the years, like in the past, because I'm kind of trying to second guess what I think Sullivan would do, and knowing what Sullivan's like, as I said earlier, he's a very colourful, very pretty, poisonous snake. He can dangle lovely things in front of your eyes, but in the meantime, he's sucking the blood out of you. So, that's where I'm coming from, Colin. And I think that they are reluctant to say to somebody like Lopetegui, do you know what? It's not working. Bugger off. There's the rest of your money. They're not going to do that. Unless, of course, they've got a clause in his contract to say that if we're at a certain position at a certain place, you can be sacked without any compensation.
What I would say is, if they're actively looking for a new coach to replace him, and they've made that decision, do you know what? This is not the right man. We've made a mistake. We need to go out and find the next coach.
Yeah. Fair
I don't
play
have
to
a
them if
problem.
they do it.
I don't have a problem with that actually.
No.
But what I would say is, what's the rush to sack him after the Everton game and have a rudderless, completely rudderless ship?
I just think maybe that's kind of
Get your guy, get him in place, then get rid
yeah.
of it. Look what Man United did, right? I don't think they sacked Ten Hag on Monday, phoned up Amarin on Tuesday, and appointed him on Wednesday or Thursday, right?
Nah.
That was obviously in the pipeline, been going on in the background
Yeah,
for
there were
a number of
negotiations
weeks,
going
right?
on.
So they
Yeah,
made their decision, however far back. But once they sacked him, they appointed a new coach quickly. So if they're now looking at coaches, great. Take a look at them, identify the right one, leave this guy in situ in the meantime. It's not going to get any better. Okay, it's not going to get any better. Bit like Manchester United.
yeah.
Pull the trigger, put the new guy in place. And I don't see them being ready to do that much before Christmas, even if they want to.
Yeah. And, like the old saying says, the night is darkest before it starts to get light.
Yeah. Happy saying,
Yeah.
Bongo, we've only seen a few of them, though. Well, we haven't seen lots of all of them. But the only ones who haven't played now are Fodringham, aren't they? Who have got 0 minutes of the
Yeah.
new
He's got
signings.
cup minutes, hasn't he?
Has he?
I believe so. Didn't he play in the early
Or
stages of the first Carling Cup game we played?
cup
Or whatever.
aside,
Yeah.
Premier League.
No, he's not had no minutes.
I mean, Guilherme's only had a few minutes, right? Somerville, we're all asking to get more playing time, but he's had 8 or 9 appearances for us. So he's had not lots of time in games, but he's got the appearances are clicking up, if you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tadibo plays, Kilman plays, Wan-Bissaka plays, Rodriguez at the moment plays. Fulkrug no sign of, but I mean that's injury.
Yeah.
Happy also says patience doesn't keep you in the top flight.
Yeah. Cool.
Which may be true.
Which is probably why maybe we should start introducing like Irvine into the team a little bit, maybe.
Thank you, Tyra. Flawless says Terzic isn't a low block manager.
That's
Okay,
good.
I've read and he goes on to say against big sides, his counter-attacking football is effective.
Yeah.
I've
I mean,
heard
I've heard a lot of
question.
good things about Terzic, I have to be honest.
Yeah, Dortmund weren't too happy with him, the hierarchy, or the fans, or the players in the end. I mean, that's often the end of managers, obviously. But they weren't happy with the style of play, and the players weren't happy with it. So that's a bit worrying. But I can't profess to know lots and lots about him. Just a bit about what I've read, and we could be back in for a bit more pragmatism. But we need firming up. So if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But if he is quite a defensive, Moyes-like manager, we could be setting ourselves up for another period of that. Maybe that's what the club needs. But we just came out of that saying we need a change. We haven't had much of a change if we're going to return to that.
Do you want to address a couple of comments? I just quickly need to use the bathroom, mate.
Yeah, no problem at all, mate. Happy says, whether Loppy stays or whoever we get in next, we all just want them to get the most out of our team and let us enjoy our football again. It has been a fucking long time. Very true, Happy. And we do want the best out of our team and we do want to start enjoying our football. And even if you're on the side of the fence that says Loppy needs time. He's making adjustments with the team and the playing style. It's really not enjoyable to watch at the moment, and he seems to be making the same errors time and time again, and seems very naive. Oh. And Flawless hates Tim too. So, hates Loppy and he hates Tim, and I take it you hate Sully as well, Flawless. William says it's going to be a Will Salthouse recruitment process, and that could well have an element of truth to it. Yes, it would be nice to see a bit more of the Paqueta that we've had for 6 months here and 6 months there, rather than the Paqueta we've had for approaching a year now. So he hasn't been too good, has he?
Yeah, exactly.
Happy says Terzic would proper struggle with our piss poor midfield, though. I tell you what, I think whoever comes in, our midfield is a challenge. However they want to play, however they want to set up.
It doesn't have to be a challenge, though, Jeff. That's the thing. There are players there that, under the right circumstances, and I mean by playing them where they're comfortable, then we've got a midfield. It's just at the moment it's a bits of this, bits of that. That's no good at the moment.
I worry when we look at our transfers and we look at the players that we brought in and the players that we've let out. We look at a Flynn Downs, for example, that's gone to Southampton. We think, you know what, he could probably do a job in this team. Look at Freddie Potts that we've loaned out for the year, the season, and you look with what we're missing, some young legs and a bit of dynamism, and we've shipped him out. And I just look and I think, okay, would he be starting every game? No. Would Flynn Downs be starting every game? Possibly no. But I don't think we've actually upgraded on either of them what we've shipped in. I don't see the point of some of what we've done. A dead ball delivery, JWP's left, and now everyone's decided no one can hit a dead ball. Bowen could take a lovely corner, but he can't seem to take one to save his life at the minute.
Yeah, I know.
Colin says, Loppy's never going to get it right. I feel he was always coming because Sullivan liked what he heard from him. That's why he don't trust Sullivan. I think no one or very few West Ham fans trust Sullivan at all.
I certainly don't. No.
I'm a bit behind the chat, so I don't know. These
That's
guys just
right.
chatting there.
Just flick through them, mate. You know, skip some if you want to. I'm going to have to wrap up in about 10 minutes or so anyway.
Yeah, no problem, mate. I think we've pretty much covered everything apart from the comments. Yeah. I think we're just chats talking about the Sullivan Loppy Stighton thing with a whole lot of backstabbing and playground blame game BS going on. Yeah. Always been run like a circus, and it's not got any better. And that's the other thing with Stighton coming in. I thought we were supposed to be more professional, and that doesn't seem to be happening really.
Yeah.
Sullivan thought he was recruiting for some porn flick. That grunt is all I can think he was hearing from Loppy. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it said on other channels, and how the hell could Lopetegui interview well and all that, and then you see him in his press conferences, and you have to ask the question: how could you have understood what he?
No. It was probably his interpreter elaborating on what he'd said.
That made me laugh. Happy says Sally must get turned on by the blinking.
Well, you know, it's true. Yeah.
Oh, well, by the way, Sporting are 3-1 up on City now.
Wow.
I've got the game on in the back. I haven't watched it, but I've got the game. Yeah, 3-1 up.
Brilliant. How many minutes in?
63,
Brilliant.
64th.
Yeah.
Colin says he's also heard that Sullivan never wanted a director of football. Kretinsky wanted one, and Kretinsky interviewed first. So if that's the case, then that is why friction is going on at the club. Kind of heard all that stuff going on in the background, and I don't know whether he did or whether he didn't. But if he didn't want him, and we've just touched earlier on about Stuyton and now how really questioning has he become the new yes man. He seems to have fallen in line pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh God, Brendan, stop it. Aside from Tay, can see that any of our OG players are improving. No.
Oh God, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and the one thing you would say, so Souček, you would say has probably improved under Loppy.
Yeah, he probably has, and you know, again, the conversations around Souček are more. He's kind of like our saving grace, as it were. You know, we can rely on him again now.
Yeah. I see I'm quite far behind the chat because I see that Toa saying he would take Aït-Nouri.
All right. Okay.
God, I have to skip through some of these just chatting away between themselves.
Skip them. They're talking about rubbish amongst themselves.
Yeah. Happy says we need to move forward, but we can't take another ex-manager back. We can't get the board to fuck off anytime soon, but surely they must want us to be better than this. And you'd have to hope so. I have to agree with that sentiment in its entirety.
Yeah.
I can't say all of us, I can't speak for all West Ham fans, but I would say pretty much every West Ham fan I know would love to see the back of Sully.
Oh, God, yeah.
But they really must have more ambition than just bringing back another ex-manager. Surely they've got more vision moving forwards than that.
Yeah.
James says anyone who wants West Ham to lose is plastic as fuck. I guess that's referring to our conversation earlier regarding if he were to lose and get sacked. Habby says, I'm hoping that Sully has a deal agreed to sell up, which is why he's not investing in a manager and is happy to just watch us cruise along towards the bottom. The thing is, I don't really think that that's the case. I think it's just how he operates.
Yeah.
It's how he always operates.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything different to what he normally does.
He's a London villain or something, you know what I mean? An East End villain. So he likes operating like one. Slimy little snake.
He is a slimy little snake. He really is. Happy says, I am in no way plastic, but if I knew he was going following a loss, and even if we don't sign another head coach until the summer, then I'm all for it. You would have to be dead to be worse than Loppy. Okay, fair enough.
And, you know, Happy is a season ticket holder. She goes every home game, you know, rain, shine, snow, thunderstorms, whatever. So, you know, I mean, for her to say that, she's seen a lot of stuff going on over the years, you know.
No, absolutely. What I would say is if we're going to not recruit a manager till the summer and there's no plan for an interim, and we've touched on like the Nolan, Noble, Keane, Noble, whatever combination. Lots of fans might want to embrace that. Like I say, I think it's a very romantic solution. City just scored a penalty, by the way. If you want to see that through to the end of the season, fine. But I don't know.
When I mentioned it, I mentioned it as in respect that I kind of second guessing what Sullivan and the board would do. You know, I'm not suggesting that I would agree with it, because to me, I'd rather have Rafa Benitez. I really would.
Well, Colin says here, he says he's hearing Potter and Terzic are the favourites, but himself, he would like to see any one of these: Conceição, Frank, Iraola, Silva, or Nistelrooy. Okay, so Conceição, he was offered the Marseille job in the summer, turned it down because they didn't have Champions League football. So I think even if he's saying, well, I want to get back into the game, he's probably looking for a team that's in European football. So I would say I'd like him, by the way. He looks, his record in domestic cups is amazing. But I just don't think he would come.
Right.
Thomas Frank has to be bought out. Iraola has to be bought out.
Yeah.
Silva has to be bought out. And Van Nistelrooy, I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what his record is as a coach. I don't even know if has he managed anyone
I don't know.
previously?
He's a great player.
Yeah. So I'm not in a
it.
position to comment about Van Nistelrooy, really, to have
Of that
much of an
list
opinion.
there, I think Iraola is probably the one that I would single out of that list as probably the most likely for us to get.
I think his buyout clause is more than Amorim's was.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Oh, well, we ain't
Or around the same.
If it's any more than a tenner, we ain't getting him anyway.
James is saying, but he only just reinvested in a new manager and some quality players, which is what we wanted. Let's be honest. So I guess that's in response to I'd rather even get rid of him and don't appoint anyone to the summer. And yeah, I mean, he's just paying someone for nothing, really.
Yeah.
I think James James might have got a rise out of Happy here, though. She says, reinvested in a manager, Bongo. Where? An old has-been freebie. Well, he's looking very much like an old has-been freebie at the moment, that's for sure.
He certainly is. Certainly is.
And DiCanio says, Stighton out, signed a load of rubbish. Loppy wanted paella, but he was served up sauerkraut by Timmy. The bloody bloke got sacked twice in 130 days, for fuck's sake. And here's the thing. He's never stuck around anywhere long, has he, right?
No.
He got turfed out of the Spain job because he was flirting for the Real Madrid job. He was at Real Madrid for 14 games. He was out the door. He was at Sevilla for a little while. Then went to Wolves. He was only at Wolves for 23 games, and then he walked out the door.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a long-term prospect.
Thing was at Sevilla, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what was it? 2 Europa League titles he won, or 3? 2 or 3?
I'm not sure. Usual says, I hope the young Brazilian kid gets a chance at the weekend. It'd be nice to see a little bit more of him. Yeah. And I tell you what, Dominic Calvert-Lewin suspended as well for that. Did he get sent off this week or second yellow? I think he might be suspended. I have to check that. But if you look at Everton and their back line, you'd love to have a young lad like that with the pace he's got running at him, wouldn't you?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
He's got the prospect to like terrify him, really.
Yeah.
Happy says, I guess we should all be thankful that at least he is doing better here than Sevilla when he won 1 in 10 and got sacked off.
Yeah, that was towards the end of his time at Sevilla, though. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how many titles, like European titles, he won with Sevilla. I know they won 3 or 4 in a row. No, 5 in a row, wasn't it? something like that. Anyway, irrelevant.
Leslie says, if Loppy continues and we end up in a relegation battle, could Kretinsky become active out of fear of relegation and get backed by the rest of the board? Sully and Gold only have 49.7%. Sully would leave. I think that's wishful thinking, if I'm honest. I don't think Kretinsky has any intentions of
he's got
increasing
no
his stake
interest in
taking a
controlling
controlling stake. No, I don't think so at all.
He's got no interest in it. He's an investments man. He's not interested in the running of the club at all.
And I think if he was going to run a club and take controlling interest, it'd be Sparta Prague that he took.
Sparta Prague.
That's
his home club, so why not? And he already owns 26% of them, 28% of them.
There's James coming there. I'll try and catch up here.
Oh. What kind of camera? That just makes no sense to me.
I'll just keep you through. There's all sorts going on in the chat here, Budgie.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, Leslie says he's got to run. So good night, Leslie. Thanks for tuning in. I hope everything's all right. Nothing too dreadful, mate. Wendy Ramus is eating pie and mash on Marlin Road. Here we go, DiCanio says. And Happy says, you know what line winds me up as much as be careful what you wish for? Feckin' trust the process. And it is getting a little bit tiresome, the trust the process thing.
I would trust the process if I could fucking see one.
Well,
there
the thing
isn't
is,
one.
We were told about a project. We've been told about the process. And there's not looking like much of a project or a process at the moment. It's looking pretty shambolic.
It's looking a complete mess. Yeah. Yeah.
And DiCanio says it's time for silly season. Happy, he's got to have a laugh. The football is dreadful, and it really is. Yeah. Oh, and we were talking about Rafa tonight, and he's as short as 3-1 to be the next manager now. Usual saying.
Suits me. It's probably not a popular choice amongst the West Ham fans, but that suits me.
And Sullivan is a fan of his, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty sure he'd be on his shortlist.
I hope so, because Rafa is a winner. He's won many trophies, and he's...
Icarus, I think that is Toha that you're talking about. Sorry, mate, I was just replying to that comment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to skip down to the bottom of these comments, and we'll we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit hungry now. I haven't eaten since about 8 o'clock this morning.
I'd just like to say thanks for everyone for tuning in, bearing with us. Lots of old faces, some new faces. Thanks to all of you. If you've not subscribed, please do so. It's not an order; it's a request. And if you could like the stream for us as well, that would be great. Thank you very much.
It costs you nothing, and it means everything to us.
Yeah.
Go on. What's your question?
What's your question?
Oh, go on.
Skip. Right.
If we could A, rename the LS, or B, change the badge.
I'll change the badge.
Ooh. Would you?
Yeah.
What, back to the one over your left shoulder?
Yeah, something like that. It's one of my favourites, yeah. I know it's not like steeped into the history as much as all of the others, but I like the castle badge, and I don't like. I don't mind the crossed hammers. I don't like the London written underneath on it and all of that. The badge as it is right now
Without the London at the bottom, I would accept.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
That's kind of nostalgic of the 60s kind of thing. But no, get rid of the London. We know where we are. We know where we're from. You know,
It's
the club.
3-1 again. I thought it was 3-2. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, so in answer to your question, Happy, change the badge, get rid of the name London. That would do me.
Yeah,
Get
do
rid
me
of the
as
word
well.
London.
I don't really like that. Colin says, I know what you say about Sullivan. I actually know a few naughty, crooked things about the Poison Dwarf. I also know that he has connections in the underworld I myself know some of them. Right, well, Colin, I'll make sure I don't piss you off then, mate.
And if your list of names is as concise as mine, we'll be all right.
And Toa says he wants to name the stadium the Salad Bowl.
Yeah. Colin the Hitman.
Yeah, Colin the Hitman.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rana Brothers.
The Wheelstone Raider. God, he's throwing all sorts out there, usual.
He does that.
Happy says, thanks for tonight, lads. As it's all been a bit moany, I will keep on top of the lads in the chat more next week. Well, I think we've all been a bit moany. I mean, we try to be pretty pragmatic, try not to get caught up in too much of the knee-jerk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to remain positive after this week's performance, I have to say.
Yeah. And to be fair, Happy, when you say you'll keep on top of the lads in the chat next week more, to be fair, we do this and the chat is there to provide a platform for people to air their woes and worries and whatnot else. It's when it starts getting personal towards people is when we would rather it was intervened with,
Yeah, there was a little bit with Flawless the other week, but I mean, he's been pretty well behaved the last couple of weeks, to be fair to him. So, and he's contributed to the conversation and made some fair points, and we want everyone to do that, right?
That's exactly what we want. Yeah.
Oh, Happy says 4-2 to the under ones. That's good. Under 21s. Good news, that is.
Or is that 4-2?
James has got a bit of breaking news here for us, Budgie. He says Southgate has just been spotted eating cockles and mussels with his assistant Avram on the London Wall. More to follow. So
if you can see that from the Potato Riviera, Bongo, then you're a bigger man than I thought you were. Mussels.
I'll try to catch up. Usual says Real Madrid are getting beat 3-1 at home, and Sporting are beating Man City 4-1 now.
4-1.
I haven't watched any of this game either.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, Happy Emirates. Thanks for popping in. Lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Tony, thanks for dropping in, buddy. Good to see you, mate.
No
worries. Hop on another week, mate.
We're literally about to wrap up as well, Tony. So
just flicking through all of these.
Late doors. That's about right, Happy. Late doors, not early doors.
Okay, Corey's got a hat trick. He was at Coventry, wasn't he? And then.
All right. Yeah. I remember.
We all had a bit of a moan up, Happy. I feel like I was moaning a bit tonight, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Now, DeCanio's on it. Yeah. Pep out.
Yeah, we'll get him. Champions League next season. Right, go on.
Okay, I'll skip through these and then I'm going to say good night to you all. I'd just like to thank you all once again for tuning in. It's great to see you all. Budgie, thanks for joining me. Good to see you, mate. As usual, mate. And,
it's a pleasure. Thank you, Colin.
Okay, finally caught up. Thanks to you all once again. And I'll say good night to you all.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.
See you same time, same channel next week.
Same time, same channel next week. Cheers, guys. Go on your eyes.